Hi, friends. Thank you for tuning in to the Concussion Coach podcast. I'm Bethany Lewis, the Concussion Coach. I'm a neurological occupational therapist and certified life coach, and I specialize in guiding people through their concussion recovery journey. I am passionate about helping people understand their injury, speed up their recovery, and reclaim control over their life post-concussion. The purpose of this podcast is to help increase awareness of concussions and the impact they can have on a person's life, and to bring hope to people who have suffered a concussion and those who love them. I firmly believe that sharing stories and knowledge about concussions will bring important light and understanding to this misunderstood and often invisible injury. The information in this podcast is meant to bring that awareness and hope and is not meant as medical advice. The opinions shared are those of the interviewees and my own. If you are suffering with lingering concussion symptoms, I have created a concussion coaching program specifically for you. I will be your mentor to guide you through your recovery journey, offering help with understanding and managing your symptoms, setting achievable goals, and learning how to manage your own thoughts and nervous system in order to get control over your life again. If this program sounds like something that would help you or someone you love, sign up for a free consultation. In the consultation, you'll get valuable information and resources and gain hope for your future. Sign up for your free consultation at the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Hi, friends. Welcome back to the Concussion Coach podcast. Today, my guest is Drago Romero. Drago lives in Phoenix, Arizona, and experienced a life-changing concussion earlier this year. He hopes to share his experience navigating through grief and physical and emotional challenges, and also share his triumphs and successes through his recovery to help bring awareness to post-concussion symptoms. He hopes to one day be an advocate for those who have suffered through this life-changing experience and let them know that things do get better and there is hope no matter how bleak things may seem. So that's the perfect person that I want to bring on. I want to have somebody who's willing to be honest and open and share their real experience, but also filled with hope as well, because I think it's important for us to get both sides. So thank you so much for being willing to be that for us, Drago, and to share your experience. I'm glad that you're here.
Happy to be here. A little bit nervous, but I'm very happy to be here. I actually want to thank you for taking the time. I know I had asked you. Your podcast has brought me a lot of hope. So I just wish I can do that for other people. Just by sharing my story and just giving out tips, my experiences, and just to, help other people know that they're not alone and it is something that can get better and that can improve.
Thank you so much. It's very encouraging for me to hear that this has been helpful for somebody. So I love that you reached out. I really appreciate that. And I'm excited to get your story out there. So let's start with having you tell us a little bit more about you. I know you're in Phoenix now. Is that where you were born and raised? And what other things do you love?
Yes, so I was not born and raised in Phoenix. I'm actually from California initially, a small town, Oxnard, California. I was born and raised there for about 19 years, moved over here to Phoenix, Arizona in 2022. So been here about 2 years, going on 3 years. What I like to do, I pretty much just like to spend time with my family, love barbecuing every weekend. I love to do that. Love going to the gym, like being active. And yeah, I'm pretty much a simple guy, family oriented, pretty active, love hanging out with my girlfriend. Yeah, that's pretty much it in regards to me. I'm a very simple man.
I love it. That's great. Those are good things to love. So tell us about your injury. What happened? How long ago was it? Just jump right in.
So my injury happened on February of 2024. So that was about 9 to 10 months ago. Hard to keep track nowadays. Pretty much it was a car accident. So I was on my way to work. I was driving. There was a semi-truck to the right of me, blocking the view of another driver. That driver tried to speed through the intersection and I T-boned him. Airbag went off. Felt fine initially. I was just mainly worried about the other driver. Didn't feel any pain, symptoms, anything like that in the initial accident. Just was a little shaken up. It wasn't until 2 days later after the initial accident where I just woke up and I just felt strange. I felt very off balance. My vision was not working correctly. I just felt off, like just that feeling of just like something's wrong here, but I don't know what it is. So I carried on with my day and it just started kind of progressively getting worse each day. New symptoms, stiff neck, vision problems, there's so many symptoms I can't keep track of them all, but pretty much dizziness, vertigo, neck pain, trouble concentrating. Those were the initial symptoms that I experienced after the accident. So that was like a week afterwards.
So it sounds like since you weren't in pain or just, you said you were just shaken up after the initial accident, I assume that means you didn't go to the hospital or get checked out or anything like that?
Not until probably a week later where
Okay.
I was any better. They did a head CT scan just to rule out any brain bleeds, anything like that. They came back negative for all that. They just told me I have post-concussive symptoms. They told me it'll resolve within 2 to 4 weeks. So I was like, okay. So pretty much just went about my daily life, just waiting for that time to kind of heal my injury.
So they told you, like they said, you can expect to get better within 2 to 4 weeks. Did they give you any warning that there's a possibility that it might extend longer than that?
No, initially just about a month. Take it easy. Try not to push yourself too much. Yeah, that's pretty much. Obviously, that didn't happen. They kept in the time frame to a month. Give it 2 months, 3 months, 4 months. Give it 2 years.
Really? Who were you seeing that was telling you just keep waiting, keep waiting, keep waiting?
So initially, it was my primary care doctor. So there was many events leading up to the escalation of going to see different providers. So for the first 2 months, I was seeing my primary care doctor. I wasn't getting any better. I was actually getting a little bit worse to the point where it was getting hard to function certain days. So it would be really hard to get out of bed. Felt really dizzy. It was really hard to eat. That was one of my main things. It was extremely hard to eat. I would get really intense dizzy spells after eating. So I did drop, I did get a little lighter, dropped a couple pounds. Neck pain was pretty severe too. There was one point where someone was giving me a massage to kind of relieve neck pain. And as soon as they, touched my neck, I ran to the restroom to vomit from pain.
Oh.
So that's when I went to my primary care doctor with my family, and they're like, something's not right. He's getting a little bit worse. What is going on? My vision was getting worse. I was seeing the floaters, and it was hard to keep track of things. So we went to the primary care doctor. They had me do a MRI. I went to do an MRI, and let's just say the results of the MRI, initially, my primary care doctor read it wrong.
Oh, no.
She pretty much, I don't want to get into it too much, but she pretty much read it wrong and misdiagnosed me with something. And she sent me to the neurologist. That was 3 weeks of just waiting for a neurologist. Usually those take a while to book an appointment. Luckily, I was able to see one in 3 weeks with a misdiagnosis. Yeah, that was pretty quick, 3 weeks. But the misdiagnosis was a little bit scary. It was she pretty much stated that something had slipped out of my brain. And when you hear that, you kind of freak out. So I had 3 weeks of just, thinking something slipped out of my brain. And then when I went to the neurologist, they pretty much told me I'm fine. It is post-concussive symptoms and pretty much the same protocol. Give it time. It can heal. It could take a year, 2 years. Just take it easy. Nothing much we can do.
Did they try to give you medicine? I'm just curious.
Yeah, they tried me so many medications up the wazoo, pain relievers, mood stabilizers, because my mood was affected. I would be in a bad mood a lot of the time. I'd be angry, sad. Yeah, it affected my mood, my physical activity. I couldn't walk down more than 3 blocks without getting a intense migraine. So I would have to go back inside and just lay down. So pretty much they prescribed me lots of medications. I only did the pain medications just for the neck.
You didn't take the other ones?
Yeah, I did one. The pain medication kind of helped, but it would have, obviously side effects, making me more woozy and more dizzy at times. So a lot of these medications do have side effects that do worsen other symptoms.
Mm-hmm. So they said, okay, yes, you have post-concussion syndrome, whatever, and it's just going to take a couple, it could take months to 1 or 2 years to get better. So just kind of take it easy and take these medicines. Did they say anything about options for therapy or treatment to help improve it in the meantime?
Not until I demanded it. I would come in there a little hot-headed. I'm like, is there anything we can do? anything but medication. Like I'm having neck pain. I know maybe some physical therapy, like everything that was helping me get better, I kind of had to do on my own and had to like fight for myself. A lot of the times they were just kind of, oh, well, we can't really do anything.
Well, I love that you fought for yourself. And I hope that people out there listening to this will hear that too. Like it's, I mean, okay, I don't want to speak badly about any medical professionals. Like I'm sure they're doing their best. They know what they know and they're trying to help you feel better, but they don't know everything. And so there's no one person who knows everything. So please, if you're dealing with this, don't take one person's response as the end all be all. Keep doing research, keep looking, and stand up for yourself. It's so hard because when you're dealing with all these symptoms, I imagine it's incredibly difficult to be an advocate for yourself. I know when people say like, I don't even know how to describe what I'm feeling when I'm having symptoms. Like, it's like, I can't think straight enough to express it. And so it is so hard. So just know you're not alone and there are answers out there. So thank you, Drago, for bringing that up.
So yeah, pretty much, honestly, a lot of the times they made me feel like I was making up the symptoms. A lot of the times I felt like I wasn't being heard. Even I was beginning to kind of think like, am I making this up? It's to that point where like, man, I can't really, like a lot of brain fog, hard to concentrate in those early days. Sleep was pretty terrible. Those first couple months, just overall, it was just trying to get through one day at a time. Working was very hard on a daily basis. It was very physically and mentally demanding just to make it through a day of work. Yeah, so it was just pretty much just months and months of just trying to get better. I'm trying to think of when I started kind of getting a little bit better, started to be able to kind of do things on my own again.
Did they give you physical therapy, like prescribed physical therapy once you asked for it?
Yes, so that was around probably month 4.
Okay.
I started doing physical therapy.
Was it with a PT who knew about concussions specifically, or just kind of a general PT?
Yes, so she did tell me, so I'm thankful for the physical therapy. So I did learn quite a bit with the physical therapy. Doing physical therapy, she did let me know that concussions can affect stuff that you eat, can affect your body in different ways. So I was experiencing food sensitivities. So certain foods would give me, headaches, heart palpitations, make me feel dizzy. So she told me to try a low sodium diet to try to mitigate, some of those effects when trying to eat food. So food triggers for me, I don't know if this happens to anyone else, but for me, I noticed that high carbohydrate foods like pizza, pastas will really, offset my symptoms. And I was very shocked to find out that, concussion / whiplash injury can kind of affect my whole body in that way.
Yes, I think that's I appreciate you bringing this up too, because I do think that's something that it doesn't make sense when you initially think about it. Like you wouldn't connect those things, but that can absolutely happen. And yeah, it's so interesting. New food sensitivities can come up. And yes, I have heard that the gluten kind of things, like it can be helpful for people to go on a low gluten or low dairy diet after this, just to help. Just because a lot of times people have sensitivities that they may not even realize, or maybe it shows up after. And anyway, so really, really interesting. So did that low sodium diet help?
Yes, initially it did help. I was still very sensitive to foods like sodas. I was very sensitive to sodas, high carb foods. So I had to really slowly reintroduce that to my diet. So I had cut it out completely. And then I noticed that when I would have it, the effect would be very, very strong if I were to accidentally, indulge in, slice of pizza here and there. So it would kind of come at me really hard when I would indulge. So I decided to kind of reintroduce it into my diet just slowly a little bit, just stuff that I like, just to get my body used to the symptoms. Obviously not eat it every day, but just, try to incorporate it in a healthy manner, once a week, that type of stuff.
So you were able to get back to a point where you could eat these things without it being problematic?
Yes, fairly recently. I'd say probably this month I'm barely getting to a good spot where it doesn't really affect me.
Okay, that's good to know. And so yeah, going on close to a year for not being able to have those. Well, thank goodness for this PT who was able to help you. That's great. What else did you learn from her, or what other things did you try that were helpful?
So the PT, she just recommended some neck exercises that did help. for a while. And then I started to experience some mental symptoms, just like brain fog, trouble concentrating, a little bit of memory issues here and there. And that would kind of stress me out a little bit, especially due to the job I had at the time. It was very, mentally demanding. And it wasn't really probably the best for me for my recovery. Looking back at it, I probably should have taken it a little bit easier on myself. I was pushing myself, fairly hard during that time. I was having unrealistic expectations to just heal overnight. Just very frustrated in how long it's taking to just kind of get to a normal state, quote unquote normal.
Yeah, no, that's so common. I think if you just like the frustration, the not knowing how long it's going to take. Let's get this over with already. I'm just going to push through. Do you mind sharing what you were doing for your job before?
Yes. So I was a supervisor for a home health agency.
Oh, that's a lot. You're like, there's so many moving parts with that. Holy cow.
Yeah. So initially, like, I didn't really take any time off after the accident. I think I took like 2 weeks off, and then I was like, okay, back to work. I was dealing with those symptoms daily at work. I had wonderful coworkers that they knew what had happened. And I had wonderful coworkers at the time that they would really, assist me, and they would know when I wasn't really feeling well. Yeah, I had a really good support system at my job.
Oh, what a blessing. That's wonderful. I'm happy that was the case for you. That's a big deal. So tell us what else, as you were going on in this journey, what else was helpful or like got you more information that was leading you in the right path here?
So a lot of podcasts, just doing my own research. I believe I found your podcast. I'm not sure when, but I know it was towards the beginning of the summer. It's just, I remember just going all in, like, okay, I'm going to do all the research I can to get better no matter what. I just kind of went in head first, just doing all the research, listening to podcasts. I'm like, I'm determined to get better no matter what, just from chiropractic care, acupuncture, practicing mindfulness. I did realize that my state of mind has a lot to do with how I'm feeling physically. So being mindful when I'm having a migraine, all that stuff really helped. I did experience some setbacks, especially this summer. This summer, I did lose my father to an illness.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, that did not really help with my recovery. So we're dealing with grief while trying to heal was very difficult for me, but it is possible. I feel like your state of mind has a lot to do with how you view things. So I just kept telling myself that there is a light at the end of the tunnel. There's always hope, no matter how bad things seem. You can always get better. What really started helping me was going back to the gym. So before the accident, I was a very active person, lifting, 5 days a week, running. I wasn't able to do that for a while due to some of the physical pain I was experiencing. But I slowly, forced myself to go to the gym, exercise, starting off slow with just walking on the treadmill and then going on the bike and then walking a mile, 2 miles, to the point where right now I'm going to the gym, 6 days a week, pretty much back to before the accident. I'm able to lift normal weights, run the same. So I'm pretty much, physically back to baseline where I was before.
That's amazing. That's so huge. I love that you did that and that it was so helpful for you because yes, it is, the physical exercise is a game changer. And I love that you were able to self-motivate yourself, like to make that happen, like to go and slowly work your way back into it. That's awesome. I'm very happy to hear that and happy that other people are going to be hearing that as well. It's very important.
So I do recommend exercise 100%. It's pretty much, I don't know what about it. It just makes everything feel normal again. Like, inflammation is gone, everything. I just don't know what it does to my body, but I just keep doing it. I would definitely recommend if, even though you feel like, man, I don't have no energy for exercise, just go for a walk, do any little exercise. It will definitely help.
Yes. And there are reasons for it. There's the physiology of it is known, but it really does. We don't have to understand how it works just to know that it does. So I love that you're bringing that up and encouraging people. I think that is so important. Excellent. Thank you. So tell us, how did your injury affect the people who were closest to you?
So It affected my family quite a bit. They kind of knew something was off with me, and they like around probably the 1 month mark, I wasn't acting like myself. I was very emotional. Let's just say I was very, my emotions were kind of all over the place, from angry to sad to, happy. It was very strange. Initially, my family was, no fault to them, but they didn't know what was going on. They're like, see, quote unquote, being dramatic. And I thought I was being dramatic too. I was like, there's no way a concussion can cause all this. People get concussions all the time. It's football players get them all the time. So what's the deal with me? So I was, everyone thought it was something worse, maybe like a, brain bleed. That's why they were advocating to get me an MRI, all that stuff. But it did affect them. They were very worried about me. They saw me, lose a lot of weight, go from being very, independent, going to the gym every day, very serious, very stoic, to very emotional. That was very strange for my family, especially my girlfriend. My girlfriend probably wouldn't have made it without her support. My girlfriend has been a tremendous support throughout this whole entire journey. Yeah, the early days were very difficult. Lots of sound sensitivity. That was a strange symptom that, I thought, my ears were broken or something. I was very sensitive to sound. Like, sound would really bother me. It hurt my ears. It'd give me, any loud bang would give me a severe headache, stuff like that. But my family initially were very, very concerned for me during those early days.
Yeah, I imagine. Were they what would you say was were some of the most helpful things that people said or did as you were going through all this? And like how is your girlfriend so supportive? Like what was it that she did or said that was helpful for you?
So pretty much just her being there. There was a lot of guilt around my injury, feeling like I wasn't the same person, or like physically not as capable as before. I had a lot of, when you go out on dates, we would have to call it early because I wasn't feeling well, stuff like that. So there was a lot of guilt in regards to just, not being able to be there like I was before initially. Mm-hmm. But she reassured me that it's okay, that, I'm going to get better. Things will work out. Just focus on healing. Don't push myself too much. So she was very supportive in that aspect, as well as my family. They were very supportive. They kind of came together and, were also doing research on like how to get better. So they kind of all came together to like figure this out with me.
Bless them. That's wonderful. I love that so much. And yes, I love the points you brought out there, that they held the hope for you when you couldn't sometimes. They reassured you that it was going to be okay and that they were with you, like just being there. I love that so much. And that they were willing to advocate for you and help you get the help that you needed and look for answers. Those are all beautiful things, and things that I hear from others as well. So I just want to pull those out because they are really important and good for people to hear. Do you, while we're on the topic of loved ones and support systems, do you have any recommendations for them as to like how, like things that you would want them to know, advice for people who are loving and supporting someone who has a concussion?
Probably just be patient, believe them. Obviously there's, that initial period of like not really understanding. No fault to them. Like obviously I didn't understand it myself. So just pretty much believe them. Just be there, be patient, support them in any way you can. I would also recommend don't coddle so much. I believe that being able to kind of get up and like try to do things on your own, even though you don't feel as well. Obviously don't push yourself into like, where you can't function for the rest of the day, but kind of get up and kind of do things for yourself. So you have that little bit of independence. I feel like a lot of that guilt and, I guess embarrassment comes from not being able to do the things you used to do by yourself. But if you can do it, even if it kind of hurts or it's uncomfortable, try to get up and do it as much as you can without, obviously pushing yourself too much.
Yes. Oh, I love that you brought that up. It is a delicate balance to find. Like it can be, especially, for the person who's loving and supporting them, like, okay, how much is too much help? How much is not enough help? Like it's going to change from day to day and from person to person. So there's no like set answer, but I appreciate that perspective. I remember somebody saying, like the way they put it was so good. They're like, you want to give them the least amount of help necessary. So you want to help them, you want to be there, and you want to do what they like, fill in where they can't, but you don't want to do everything for them. Like you said, you don't want to be quote unquote coddling. You want to be encouraging them to find that that just right challenge for them. Like do challenge, but don't do everything for them. So again, so much easier said than done. But I think that's really excellent advice. Thank you for bringing that up. So were there any other treatments or things that you tried? You mentioned acupuncture and chiropractic and the physical therapy. Did you do vision therapy as well?
I have not done vision therapy. It was actually when I talked to you that I went to go get my eyes checked. I had never addressed that issue. I would just tell the primary care doctor that my eyes are not really working as well. And they pretty much just, oh, well, we'll see. It wasn't until I spoke to you and you recommended to see, I'm not sure what the exact name was, but it was a eye specialist to kind of gauge to see how my vision was affected. And then they pretty much told me that, yes, a whiplash/concussion can affect your vision. I was diagnosed with visual snow. I'm not sure if you've heard of that.
Oh, yeah.
Visual. So my night vision is not as good as it was before. So I'm still dealing with that. But that was one other symptom that really scared me. I thought it was, initially, when you're not sure what's going on, like, I think I'm going to go blind. So pretty much visual snow syndrome, I believe is what it's called. It's pretty much during, if it's the lighting is very bad, you kind of see it's static, I guess that's what they call it, just pretty much static. So I'm still dealing with that. They did prescribe me special glasses to kind of, help with that. Computer screens really do take a toll on me a little bit still. So I got some glasses for that. But yeah, it wasn't until I kind of saw that eye doctor that I probably started seeing improvement. Vision was probably one of the biggest symptoms that I was having after the accident.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And sometimes I think people don't even realize how much their vision has been impacted. Like it sounds like you were aware to at least some degree that your eyes were not the same. But a lot of times when we do evaluations and work with people, we'll see concerns with their visual tracking and convergence and divergence, things like that, and visual skills that are not the way that they used to be. And people don't even realize it because the brain is so amazing at compensating. So it'll compensate all day. And that's why you get so exhausted, because it's working so much, like putting so much extra effort in to do those things that it used to do without any problem. But it wants like that, the vision and the vestibular input. Those things are key to being able to get around your world, and the brain will prioritize those. And even if it's not working well, it'll just put all the energy into that so that you can survive. So I appreciate you bringing that up. That's it's a hard one. And the visual snow is something that I have heard about. I don't think it's super, super common, but I'm glad that you're bringing it up so that people know that's a thing that can happen. So anyway, thank you for sharing all of that. Anything else that you'd like to share that was helpful for you in discovering and loving yourself post-concussion?
Pretty much just be patient with yourself. Obviously, it's really hard to kind of, I guess, love yourself when you don't feel as capable, but you'll get there. You'll get to a good spot if you work at it. I know it's not something that will happen overnight. It's something gradual. So just be patient with yourself. And this is the way I think about it. If another family member were in your position, how would you treat them? And then treat yourself the way you would treat that family member.
It's like a little bit of the opposite of the golden rule. It's like treat others how you would want to be treated yourself. But this way, it's like treat yourself the way you would treat somebody else. I think that's so beautiful and such a really, really good point. Thank you for bringing that up. So good. And I think it's interesting too that you mentioned this. I think it's so true for across the board, but especially comes out with people who are dealing with post-concussion symptoms, is that our self-worth, often we tie it to what we're able to do and accomplish. And really, it doesn't have anything to do with that, but we think it does. Like if we can't do the things, if we can't be productive, if we can't accomplish what we have been able to in the past or that we're working towards, then we think that means something about our value as a human. And again, I think this comes down to like a core that is true for everybody. This is when we get down to most of the problems that people experience, it's this underlying deep-seated questioning about our own worth. And that just becomes more like the spotlight gets put on it when we can't do what we used to do. And so I really appreciate you bringing that piece up, that it is possible to get to a point where you can love yourself no matter what. And I think that this is an opportunity. Concussions can often be an opportunity for people to learn that skill. But really, like, if you think about it, the value of a person is not at all based on what they're able to accomplish. You look at a newborn baby and they're the most precious, wonderful, amazing things in the world, and they just lay there. Like, they don't do anything, but they're so precious. And that doesn't change as we get older. And then when we do gain more skills, that doesn't make us any more or less valuable as a person, as a being. So I appreciate you bringing that point up. And I'm curious, what did you find was helpful in the emotional part? Like, you talked about that being a challenge. Was there anything that helped you get to a point where you felt like you could get those under control a little bit more?
Yes. So a lot of podcasts of like mindfulness, just trying to be mindful of your thoughts, because your thoughts do have a lot to do with how you're feeling. So just a lot of, obviously one of your podcasts obviously did help me quite a bit. I'd put it on when I'm driving and just kind of talk myself out of, I'm not going to get better. It's easy to get down that spiral with this is ever. I'm never going to be the same. I'm never going to be able to, do this, do that. It's easy to fall under that when you're feeling the physical symptoms. So obviously your podcast, many other podcasts out there, there's a lot of tools out there to kind of help practice mindfulness. I do also want to kind of say, be careful with overconsumption of trying to fix yourself. You can also get in a loop of, constantly trying to fix your symptoms. Sometimes you have to, I believe sometimes you have to kind of just let them be. They will go away. Just kind of be mindful that it's temporary. There's no instant fix to get rid of a headache. Just give it time, take care of yourself, and just be mindful when you're having a, symptom flare up, anything like that. So I believe, just try to be mindful of your symptoms. Try not to put so much energy into trying to solve it, because then you're not really living at that point. If you're constantly worried about your symptoms, just try to go about your day just normally. I personally am a big believer of just trying to live your best life. Even if you're hurting a little bit, it's okay. Just live your life. Try to be present in the moment, and you can live a recovered, fulfilling life, even after any type of injury, anything like that.
Thank you for sharing that. There are a bunch of things that you just said that I'm like, oh, this is so good, that I want to pull out here. So I love that you talked about like the mindfulness piece, which is huge. And I might have you share some of the other podcasts that have been helpful for you, and we can put it in the show notes here, because so everybody knows where else to look. And I appreciate that this one has been helpful for you. And really, I do think that filling our minds with that like positivity and goodness and like hope-filled messages, because sometimes we can't pull it out of ourselves. Sometimes it is helpful to have it externally. So that help with managing our minds by filling in them with other external things that are good, it can be very helpful. So I appreciate you bringing that up. And then I really love that balance piece that you put to it of don't overconsume, don't just spend all of your time and energy and effort trying to fix yourself. And there really is so much value in just being and allowing what is to be. That's actually, as ironic as it may feel, like just giving up is the way to move forward. When we think that we just have to like hold on so tight and like drive forward in this direction, sometimes really not doing that is actually the way that we will find that peace and recovery. So that acceptance piece is huge. And again, it's a balance, and it's so hard to figure it out. And I think, again, it's true for everybody, no matter where we're at in life or what we're trying to do. That drive versus being is one of those paradoxes. that it's a double-edged sword. Life is both. It can be both at the same time. And so trying to work towards that improvement, but also accepting where you're at. And I love what you said about it being temporary and giving it time, and just trying to live your life and trusting that things will work out. And I do believe that. I do really truly believe that as we're trying to figure out this balance and working on those things, the right things, the right knowledge and opportunities will come in the right timing, as hard as it is to give up that desire for control over when the timing happens.
But have a personality type of like you like control over, certain things. It is harder. It is something that I
Mhm.
do kind of learn, something I still try to practice every day. Obviously, I don't have it mastered. I still work at it every day, but it has gotten better. Just kind of, like you said, giving up control, whatever happens, happens. Worrying about how you're going to feel. Am I going to have a headache later? If I eat this, am I going to feel, really bad? A lot of that worrying does not help recovering, healing. So trying to be
Mhm.
full of just, okay, whatever happens, happens. Obviously, there's things you can control, healthy diet, exercise, try to be mindful. You can try to control that to a minimum, but try not to control every minute, everything relating to your injury. Everything doesn't have to be related to your injury.
Yes, I think that we tend to want to just like we want to. I want to tell people like do your best and then just leave the rest up to God, the universe, whatever. Like it's but then we can just dive down this hole of like, well, what is my best? Like, should I be focusing on this and this and this? Like, it's so there's no right answer and there's no like I wish there was a cookie cutter that we could just all use to figure it out. But I think it is important just to bring it up and like have our awareness that, oh, okay, this is a thing that we might get stuck down a rabbit hole and maybe we want to try to lean this way a little bit more. And it'll vary. It's an ebb and flow of where we want to put that emphasis and focus. So thank you so much for sharing all of that. I'm curious if you have any advice or thoughts on setbacks and how to handle them. Like you shared a really heartbreaking one from this summer for you, but like if people are dealing with extra symptoms from whether it's just because they tried to push themselves too hard one day or because they had an outside circumstance that really pushed them or for no reason at all that they can realize, like what would you say to someone dealing with a setback?
Okay, so specifically for that setback, I did lose my father in July to an illness. He did pass away, and that was very hard for me, especially dealing with the symptoms I was having. So it was my emotional state had a direct impact on my physical, especially
Mm-hmm.
related, neck pain, headaches. So there was a time where I did kind of, I guess, quote unquote, relapse into kind of not being as strict with my physical therapy, just going out as much as I can. Obviously, when something like that happens, it's very hard to you know go back to what you're trying to do. I'm not gonna lie. At times, certain days did feel impossible to get through. I'm not gonna lie. It was very hard to deal with that and try to deal with the symptoms at the same time. It was just kind of like two hammers just hitting you at once. But you can, if you push through, you can always get through it. I know it seems like there's no end to this, but it will. You can get through it. People are stronger than they think. Just surround yourself with family and just simple words, but just power through as best as you can. If you need to, rest a little bit, take the rest, but you can get through it. You have to pretty much kind of will yourself to like, you know what, I'm going to get through it no matter what. And there was a lot of days where I'm like, I don't care, get through it, fight through the pain, physically, physical pain, emotional pain. I'm strong. There's a lot of, self-talk involved, especially navigating through grief. Um, so I would recommend, you have to be strong physically, mentally, just to try to get through that. Try not to, I'm going to incorporate something I believe, try not to fall victim into your own emotions. Emotions are temporary, whether they be happy, sad, bored. All those emotions don't last forever. So just let them flow through you and try not to linger on each emotion too long, especially the negative ones. Just try to power through as best as you can. Surround yourself with family and exercise. That helped me a lot. Exercise. Even if you don't feel like it, exercise will help tremendously.
Thank you so much for all of those. I really, really love what you said, especially about the emotions not lasting forever and letting them flow through. I think there's a concept that has been really helpful for me. This idea of clean pain versus dirty pain, where like clean pain is like the pain that feels right. Like if you're mourning a loss of a loved one, like you want to feel sad and heartbroken by that. It would feel off if you didn't. And that's the kind of pain that like allows you to process and move through and move forward, versus dirty pain, which is where you feel, like you said, getting stuck in those negative emotions, or like asking questions that don't help, like why did this happen, or being stuck in bitterness or anger. And again, I think the bitterness, the anger, all of those emotions are
Normal.
Yeah, like everybody needs to have them. We all experience them, and it's okay. We don't want to be afraid of our emotions, and when we're not trying to push them away or like fight them, then we can allow them to move through us, and that really can turn into that clean pain where we're moving forward and allowing the processing to happen. And I think it's important too, like again, it's this contradiction of things that we want to be strong, we want to push through, we want to have that mental fortitude, but we also want to be gentle with ourselves and like if there's a day where you're like, okay, I just have to rest today, like that's okay. Like you can do what you need to do. And like I don't know, it just, again, it's such a balance, whether we're resting or pushing through or what we're doing, but it's all okay, and it is temporary, like you said. And really just having grace for yourself through the whole process is so important, and can be hard, but really does make a big difference. So I really love all of the things that you've shared. Thank you so much. And tell us, if you could go back in time, what advice would you give to yourself in the early days of your injury?
Ooh, advice. I would probably the first 2 months. If I can go back in time to the first 2 months, I would definitely tell my younger self to try to exercise, eat well, and advocate for yourself a little bit more, and do a little bit more research, and love yourself. Tell myself that it's gonna be okay. We'll get back to going to the gym, going out, having a good time. That I will get back to that. Because for a while there, it seemed like it was gonna be like that forever. But now, I'm pretty much, I'd say 90% better. I still have certain days where I have certain symptoms, but I try not to linger on them too much, and then they'll kind of go on the back seat of the car and not really, take the wheel for the whole day.
Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Yeah. So thank you. That was actually the next question I was going to ask, is how you're doing, what you're still dealing with, what keeps you going. And yeah, is there anything else that you want to share about that? And I'm curious too about, if you sounded like you had a job previously, did you shift and are you doing something different now?
Yes. So right now I am working from home. I did switch jobs just during that whole period of, dealing with my father's passing. I did have to step away from work, take some time off. So right now I am working from home. I really enjoy what I'm doing now. Obviously, who doesn't like working from home? Blessing. And as to the other stuff, what I'm still dealing with, I'm just going to be honest. There's certain times where I have brain fog. It's a little hard to concentrate at times. Nothing substantial. Usually when that happens, I just get up, go for a walk, and usually that'll kind of, help. Posture, if I'm sitting a certain way or if I'm laying down a certain way, that will kind of bring on some neck pain, stuff like that. Nothing, crazy. I would recommend, if you can, get some icy hot, put it on your neck if you're having neck pain. That's been a big help. Vitamins, I would also, recommend vitamins, to kind of get, your brain. Some of us are nutrient deficient in certain areas. I feel like vitamins have helped a lot.
Did you go to somebody to get an idea of which supplement specifically, or was it just like a general like men's multivitamin kind of thing?
So I did my personal research, anything from based on just podcasts that I've listened to. Right now, what's helping me is magnesium, L-theanine, fish oils, ashwagandha. And just make sure you have your vitamins, to help sleep. Sleep was a really big issue for the longest time. Magnesium has really helped with that. If you need to take, this is not me telling you to take medication, but some people need that to, sleep. Don't be afraid to take it. I know sleep is very, very important to heal. If you're not resting well, it's really hard for your body to recuperate. That other natural sleep medication, melatonin, that has really helped. I would recommend that too. Just do kind of like your own research to kind of see what works for you, what doesn't. Obviously, stay away from alcohol and recreational drugs. I would recommend that. does,
100%. Yes. Thank you. Keep going.
that does, there are certain instances where, I try to, in the early days, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll have a drink to kind of relax. And then I'll be like, oh, wow, that did not have a good interaction. So I'll kind of just stay away from that. I'll have a, drink here and there. I'm just like, if it's a birthday party, but don't overdo it. If you can just avoid it altogether, I would recommend, just avoid it altogether. If you feel like you can handle it, maybe, but that's kind of up to you. I feel like it's kind of like a personal choice. Kind of like if you're willing to deal with the symptoms, then, go ahead. But I would just kind of stay away from stuff like that if you can. Drink lots of water and just, it's okay to ask for help. Also, I know a lot of people just kind of stay silent and just don't let other people know what's going on. But yeah, that's pretty much what I would recommend.
Beautiful. Thank you so much. I love so much of, this conversation has been really, really good. And I hope it will be really helpful for people. I think, the openness and honesty and vulnerability is really, really helpful. And I really do love a lot of the points that you've made here. I think are so important for people to hear. So thank you so, so much. Are there any other things about concussions or your experience or lessons that you've learned that you want to make sure that we touch on that we haven't talked about yet?
Just pretty much, honestly, I was very shocked to kind of find out how much a concussion can affect your body. So if you, after like a car accident or any jolts to the head, anything like that, and you're feeling some certain type of way and you're doubting, you're asking like, why am I feeling like this? I would definitely probably go get checked by the doctor just to rule out anything else and just to, get it checked. It's easy to kind of fall under other diagnoses of what's wrong with you. I feel like a lot of neck injuries, head injuries, stuff like that have a lot to do with how your body functions. I see that now. Before I was like pretty much in denial. I'm like, there's no way. I'm like, there's no. But you look at the research. What's that? You work at I believe Cognitive FX. I've been on their website and there's just pages of just information. They're like, holy cow, that's pretty much what I'm feeling. Their website has informed me quite a bit during the early days. I was like, oh my God, look. And I would show it to my family and they'd be like, that's exactly what you're feeling. That is crazy. What the heck? We had no idea that, a concussion could cause all this. And they were like, that is crazy. Okay, now we know is this for sure. It's not like, something else, something that's threatening your life. It's just going to be the whiplash / concussion that you experience. There's ways to get better. So all that online information has helped find hope and find stuff that works for me.
Yes, thank you for sharing that. And I will put that website in the show notes as well, because that is really, really helpful to get quality information. It's amazing how much a little bit of knowledge can just set so much of our minds at ease or like give us a direction. And so much of what we crave is answers and a direction and not being in limbo. So look for quality info out there, and the Cognitive FX website does have a wealth of that. Their blog is really, really great. So thank you for that. And do you want people to be able to contact you if they have questions or want to talk to you more about your experience?
Yeah, if someone wants to talk about like my recovery for concussions, anything like that, I don't have like a direct page, but I'd be more than happy to talk to anyone that's, going through that situation. I wish I had someone to talk to during the early days. It's really hard to kind of find someone that kind of relates or like, understands. So, I don't have like a dedicated page to it, but if if they want to message me or like, talk about it, they can reach me on Instagram. I guess that would be the best bet.
Okay.
My handle
what's your handle?
Drago, DRAGO _256.
Perfect. And we will put that in the show notes as well. Thank you. I do think that it really does make a huge difference to be able to talk to someone who understands. And something really beautiful that I've noticed as I've been in this concussion space is how much people want to help each other. Because it is such a surprise to so many people. Like, oh, I had no idea this would be so hard. And then the reaction is to go and want to share that and help people who are also dealing with it. So I love that about this space and this community and about you. So thank you so much for being willing to do that. I will put that handle also in the show notes. So if anybody wants to touch base with Drago, they can hear more of his goodness there. So Awesome. Thank you very, very much for being here today and for sharing all of this. I really do think this will be helpful for people who are going through a similar thing and had no idea, just like you had been. So thank you. I appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. I really appreciate everything you do. Honestly, you're a big help in my recovery. If I'm being honest, just listening to your podcast, your guests, some of the people you have, that are way smarter than me, that, deal with concussions and stuff like that. Listening to them has been a big help. And I just hope, my story can kind of help someone else like it helped me. That's my only goal. Hope it helps someone else like it's helped me.
Thank you. I'm sure it will. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad you listened in today. I hope you have gained some helpful insights and inspiration regarding dealing with and recovering from concussions. My goal is to create more awareness and education about concussions and the fact that there is so much that can be done to improve life after someone has had one. Help me spread the message by liking, commenting, rating, and subscribing to this podcast, and share it with others who would benefit from hearing it. There are more resources available on my website. And again, if you or someone you love would benefit from concussion coaching, sign up for a free consultation using the link in the show notes or at my website, www.theconcussioncoach.com. Thank you. See you next time, and take good care of that amazing brain of yours.